Hello and welcome to this very special episode where we're going to be discussing the Right Mentor Summer Mentoring Programme. My name's Stuart White. I'm the founder of Right Mentor, and I first developed and started the programme back in 2018. Although, of course, a lot of work went into it in the year before that. That we're entering now our fifth year of the mentoring programme, and it has grown every single year that we've run it. And I'm delighted, obviously, if you're listening to this, that you're considering applying for the programme this year. Now, just in case you're unsure about what the mentoring program is or what it involves, what we're going to be discussing today are those main points. And for those, we have all this obviously on our website on the page, but for those of you who would prefer to hear it, audio is obviously a preferred medium for many people over the written word. Then I'm going to go through all of the main points for you, and also share some little bits of advice and tips and so on that might help you when you're considering applying and actually doing the application itself. So, if you are new to Write Mentor, our summer mentoring program is an application based mentorship scheme for children's writers that takes place over 4 months of the summer, accumulating in an agent showcase. Our mentors are authors who volunteer their time to give back to the writing community. So, what is the scope of Write Mentor? Well, we cover age categories from picture book up to YA. We're an organisation for children's writers, so we focus upon those age categories. We do not do adult or non-fiction, unfortunately. So if you're looking for mentorship for those, there are other great opportunities for you to do that with other organisations. We focus on picture books, chapter books, middle grade, and YA. So if you're one of those writers, then you're in the right place. If not, then as I say, there are other places to look for that. And if you look online, you'll find that there are a number of different ones. Now, applications for the program open in April, and I'll talk a little bit about the timeline in a few minutes. But in advance of that, you obviously need to get yourself organised and ready for doing that application. You know, you don't want to be doing the application on the day of the actual application form opening, because then you might have forgotten something, or you might not have written your synopsis in the correct way, or you might not have done your letter, or you might just need to sort of polish that manuscript a little bit. So, or if you're a picture book writer, remembering you need 3 texts, for example. So I'm going to go through all of those details just to make sure that you've got them all and you're happy with what you need in order to apply in the next couple of weeks. It is now. It's getting very close and very exciting. So one thing I would say before I go through all that is just to remember that if your primary goal is simply to get into the program so you can take part in our agent showcase at the end of the summer, then we do very politely suggest that maybe this isn't the program for you. We believe in career development, we believe in elevating your writing craft, and we believe in fostering good relationships with fellow writers, with your mentor and the fellow mentees that take part in the program. Those are our priority. Getting an agent, those outcome based things are not a priority for us. We have actually discussed in the past just not having an agent showcase. It's something which can be a distraction, and it can either make or break some people's experiences. And I don't like that aspect of it. I think it should be more about the experience through the 4 months than any very subjective outcome based thing in the end. But it's something that we I think the positives have outweighed the negatives, and so we are sticking with it for now, and there will be that at the end of the summer. But if you're applying simply on that basis, we don't think this is the right program for you. It is the right program for you, however, if you are a writer who's worked for a while at their craft, who feels like you have done everything you can to improve upon your own. You have written at least one manuscript if you're a novelist, or 3 texts if you're a picture book writer, and we'll talk about why that's the specifications in a minute. We want people who have got to basically the point at which they cannot improve on their own anymore, and they feel like they're on the cusp. They're quite close to getting to a point where their work could be close to being considered for publication. And so they're just looking for someone to give them that little bit of extra help to help them take the next step. That person that's going to look at their manuscript and say, okay, I know you're struggling to find your weakness here, but I can see that you need to work a little bit upon your voice, or you need to work a little bit upon your characterization, or just making clear what your character's wants and goals are, or making sure that you don't allow the plot to overtake the heart of your story, what's actually at stake and what the main character's trying to achieve. There are so many different things that they can look at and hopefully give you help with. But if that is you, and you're that person who feels like they are close, but you just need someone to help elevate your own craft and the manuscript itself just a little bit higher, then this is the program for you. And we are looking for people who will take the program seriously and will work hard for 4 months. Um, I think in the past, people have done the program. They have received feedback from their mentor, and they've decided not really to do any of the changes. They've simply wanted to be part of the program rather than work really hard at improving the manuscript. And again, if that's something to consider when you're thinking about applying or not, are you that kind of person? Are you just going to coast for 4 months, or are you going to work very, very hard to improve? And only fair thing to our volunteer mentors is that you come into this with an attitude of wanting to improve and wanting to work hard. And I think that's a very reasonable expectation for us to have if you do apply. Now, at the end of the 4 months, once you've worked on your manuscript or your texts, there will be an opportunity to submit for a showcase, and I'll talk a little bit the dates of that and a little bit more about it later on. But during the summer, in advance of that, you'll either work in a full manuscript if you are a chapter book or a middle grade or a YA author, and you'll work on that with your mentor. Now, the only stipulation that we put in is that the mentor will work with you and do at least one pass of your manuscript and give feedback upon that. Now, often mentors will do a lot more than that. However, that gives us a sort of a baseline upon which everyone can say, well, okay, I've had this at least. And it's difficult at times because some mentors have more time than others simply. Some mentors are able to spend more time in your manuscript than others due to factors out with their control that happen in life and so on. And so, for that reason, we have that minimum stipulation, and anything else is a bonus. What we don't like people to do or to try and avoid doing is to look around at what different mentors are doing with their various mentees and so on, and comparing. Because and to be honest, this is rife within the industry, and it's something that if you can avoid it, will definitely help you have a healthier mindset. And that's to avoid comparisons and to avoid comparing your experience with someone else's. If you just focus upon your own and try and maximise and get the best out of that, that's definitely the best approach. So, full manuscript for chapter book, middle grade, and YA, and 3 texts if you are a picture book mentee who's going to apply. Now, again, with the picture books, there'll be one that will go towards the showcase, and the other 2 won't. However, they'll be there in your submission package when you eventually do send on to agents a little bit later on, depending obviously on the agent's specifications, which I know vary quite a lot with picture books. So we'll make sure that you've got those 3 stories in good shape for submitting when that time comes. And the picture book mentors are very excited to get to work on your text. One thing I would say with picture books, that category has grown hugely in the last 2 years, and the number of applications we're getting are much, much higher. So it's important that when you are applying, that you do have the 3 texts, that you feel like they are all as good as you can get them, as polished as they can be, because otherwise the chances of being selected are obviously going to be minimal, especially if you haven't really submitted your best work. So that's something to consider as well if you're submitting a picture book application, is that the competition will be even more intense for you compared to the other categories, and make sure those 3 texts are as good as you can get them before you apply. Okay, and the last point just to make before I go through the specifics is just to remind you and to always keep this at the forefront of all correspondence you have or everything that you do, is that our mentors are volunteers and are giving up their time willingly to help you at no real benefit to themselves. And so, whatever the outcome for you and whatever your experience, and if you're lucky enough to be selected, whatever the mentoring you receive is like, I would ask you just to remember that and to sort of not have too much expectation on them. I guess if you were, if you're paying for mentoring, you'd expect a certain thing, but because this is all voluntary, just to keep that in mind that they have lives, they have other things that come into play, and so just to take that into account. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the key dates that are involved. Now, these again are on on the website, and you can check those at any point. However, I'll read through them quickly just to give you a little refresher. So, before the applications open on the 7th and 8th of April, we have mentor chats, which are on Twitter. Now, these are a good opportunity for you to ask any questions that you have specifically of particular mentors. So, it might be a mentor has put up fantasy on their list of genres that they'll accept, and you want to ask a specific question about, does that mean, really heavy fantasy, or does it mean sort of lighter fantasy? And that is like a valid question, because obviously it's a very wide spectrum in that genre of types of fantasy. So those are worthwhile questions, and it's, if you can get along live, put your question up during the times that will be published for those. If you can't get along live, then schedule the tweet so that it comes up at that particular time. You can post questions at any time with the hashtag, but they are more likely to be seen during the actual scheduled times for the Twitter chats. So they'll happen at the Monday the 4th, Tuesday the 5th, and Wednesday the 6th of April, in the evening BST. Okay, now if you're in a different time zone, you'll just have to quickly work out with a quick Google search. Just type in your time zone to BST, and it should tell you how many hours you are ahead or behind of us, and that will enable you to get online at the right time. And as I say, if it ends up in the middle of the night for you, or too early in the morning, whatever, or you're at work, then just schedule your question for the time period, and it will be able to get answered then by the mentors when they pop on. Okay, so we do that in advance of the application, which comes in the 7th and 8th of April. That's the Thursday and Friday. And it allows you that opportunity just to double check anything you're not sure about before you decide who you're going to apply to. Now, I know it's very difficult to choose just 3 mentors to apply to, but that is a rule that we have. And this, as I say, this process will help you to hopefully home in on the mentors that you think are going to be best suited for you as a person and for your manuscript. Now, you'll apply on the 7th of 8th of April. You'll get a confirmation email. We use Google Forms, so you should get a confirmation email once you send in your application. You'll also get a message on the screen to say that the application's been accepted and so on. Then you'll have a wait, unfortunately. The wait this year is until the 28th of April. That's when we're going to announce which mentees the mentors have chosen and have paired up with. Now, my very best suggestion for you between the 8th of April and the 28th is just to try and stay off Twitter. We're not going to be posting anything in particular during that time. To try and avoid checking your emails too often. Once a day is fine. Our mentors are unlikely to get in touch. If they do get in touch, sometimes if it's close between a few people, they might want to email you to ask things like how far are you willing to go with edits, how harsh do you like your feedback, what's your publishing journey been like up to date, can you tell me a little bit more about XYZ. So they might ask you a few questions. However, it's not going to be requests for full manuscripts, because we're asking for those as part of the initial application. So you'll be sending in full manuscripts for novels and the 3 texts for picture book as part of your application. And then there'll be no need for requests. And our hope with that, and the rationale behind us doing that, is that it will allow you to have that mental space to just switch off after you've applied and not think about it again until the 28th of April. We do know what it's like to be waiting on the outcomes of things, and whatever we can do to minimize the stress and anxiety of that waiting period, then that's what we're trying to do. So you shouldn't hear from us unless your mentor has one or two more questions to help them decide. So don't spend all of those 3 weeks continually looking at your inbox and hoping for a response or a request, because those won't be coming this year. We'll just take the fulls or the three texts initially, and that'll allow the mentor to make their full judgment, without having to request from people and so on. Because I do understand, I know what it's like, with our program in the past and with other ones, where you are waiting, for the initial reads to happen in the first week or so after applying, before they then make the request and so on. And that can be quite a nerve-wracking time period. But if you know the requests are not going to come, then that's quite, I think, settling for us mentally. And I hope that will help everyone when they apply. So the mentoring period will take place from the 1st of May to the 31st of August. Okay, and that gives you a full 4 months of time to work with your mentor, to elevate your craft, to learn more about the industry, to improve your manuscript. And then, of course, we'll have the agent showcase, which will take place from Friday the 2nd of September to Friday the 9th of September. Now, we are going to change again the format of that slightly this year. In the past, we've had that showcase on public display, and it's something I've considered a lot since. And through feedback from people involved in that, we think we might keep it private this year, so that for those whose work is going up, it's not as public. And the reason, there's a few reasons for that. I won't go through every single one, but one of the sort of primary reasons is, publishing work on our website, sort of counts as publishing, in the public domain and so on. And we often get requests from those who get agented or get publishing deals to, take it down and so on, not long after the showcase. And so we can overcome that obstacle and that worry for everyone involved if we just don't have it publicly. The other thing as well is there's less of that sort of public pressure to get requests in the showcase, and it's something we take really seriously, is how people feel during that period, because it really is stressful and produces a lot of anxiety for the people involved, including those of us who are organising things. And anything we can do to minimise that, I think, is useful and helpful. So but I'll talk more to the individual mentees, if they are taken onto the program, about the specifics of that when we get towards the end of the summer, just to help everyone understand it a bit more. So, what do you need to apply to the summer mentoring program? Well, if you're a novelist, so you write chapter books, middle grade, or YA, we are looking for a completed manuscript. Okay, and we're going to ask you to submit that as part of the application. The reason why we do that is, as I explained above, to avoid you having to wait for possible requests, but also because we have had people in the past who have applied with the first 3,000 words and haven't actually finished the manuscript. And they either panic write it to get it done for any requests that they get, or we've even had people taken on to the summer program and they've tried to write their full manuscript during the mentoring period. So they've spent the entire 4 months just trying to write a first draft and not really getting the full benefit or expertise from their mentor, but also taking a place from someone who was ready and close to querying and feeling like they were really ready to take advantage and benefit of that mentorship, and they've not had that opportunity because someone without a completed manuscript has applied. So that is why we are doing that. That's the rationale behind that. You also need to send us a generic query letter. That's just a letter similar to what you'd send an agent, but without the personalisation. So that's the bit where they put your one-line pitch at the top, then a little bit more about the story, like a sort of back of book blurb type. You tell us a little bit about the age category and the genre and the word count of the book, and some of the more factual bits of information. You'll tell us maybe about the reasons why you wrote the book, if there's a specific reason, why you're the right person to write that book, if there's a specific reason, and a little bit about you as well. And again, you want to be keeping that to probably one page, ideally. If it's going over a page of normal font size on Word, then it's probably too long. The manuscript itself should be double spaced and in 12 size font and a plain font like Times New Roman. Don't use Comic Sans like I do when I'm writing my manuscripts. Apparently, even though it works for me, it's not great for all readers. So we just want a plain font for that. And the last dreaded part of the application materials is the one-page synopsis, which will have single space to allow you to have a bit more breathing room in terms of getting the whole plot in there, because we know that it can be quite difficult to do that. We have a couple of videos on our YouTube channel to help you with things like your query letter and your synopsis and so on. If you're struggling, we also have um, advice. In fact, to be honest, you don't even have to get advice from us. There is advice all over the internet on doing both. Lots of very very good ones as well. And so I would just type that in and have a read at some of the the different bits of advice that are out there. Okay, so in terms of the materials, that's what we're looking for novelists. And that will go into one document and it will be uploaded along with your application form. For picture book writers, we're looking for 3 texts. Illustrations are not needed. You can include illustrator notes if you like, but you don't have to. Again, we're looking for something that's double spaced, 12 size font, Times New Roman or similar, unless there's a specific reason in terms of the formatting that you might want to do that a bit differently. Include a query letter, as similar to what I said above. You can include a pitch for each of your 3 texts in your query letter if you like, and put then the 3 texts all into one document. Okay, and that again saves us from having to make requests, and also means that you can just say, okay, that's everything sent, job done, and you can relax a little bit. Now, for all applicants, whether you're picture book or novelist, we ask that you only apply to 3 mentors. In fact, the form will only let you apply to 3 mentors. Now, just to define what we mean by a mentor, because a few people have asked this, co-mentors count as one mentor choice. So if 2 people are co-mentoring, that counts as one choice on your form. Okay, you'll see them paired up together on the form when you go to do it. Be sure to research the mentors thoroughly, ask them questions during the Twitter chat that I mentioned before, and make sure that you go with the person that you think is going to be the best for your manuscript and for you as a person to work with, rather than any other reasons. It's one application per person, so even if you have, say, several completed manuscripts as a novelist, we ask you to choose one of those and to include that as part of your application. Don't send in a second application, because we'll simply delete any duplicates. If you make a mistake in your first application and you want to send in a second one, then you can do so, but you must email us through the contact form on the website to let us know that you're doing that. Okay, and just be quite specific in terms of the manuscript title, etc., that you put on the form, so it's easy for us to locate. Ideally, the document would be in Word or PDF format. Most people don't have specialist software, and so if it's in anything else, then it might be quite difficult for our mentors to read as part of the application process. So Word or PDF would be ideal. Okay, now I'm going to go through some of the frequently asked questions that we get about the mentorship program, just again to hopefully reduce the number of questions that we get, because we get a lot and it can be quite difficult to get through them all. Especially when everything's on the website, we want to make sure that you just understand everything from the get go, and there's no stress or worry, rather than having to get in touch with us and then we become stressed and worried, and the cycle perpetuates. So we're putting it on the website, but I'm also going to discuss them just now in case you're listening to this instead. So the first one is, I live in the US and I see you're based in the UK. Yep, we are based in the UK. I'm Scottish, as you can tell. I'm based in Glasgow, but our mentors are from around the world, so you can apply if you are from around the world. The only stipulation that we have is that the manuscripts are written in English. How much does it cost to apply? It's a voluntary program, so no cost involved. Nobody pays or receives or any money in the program, so it's all done on a voluntary basis. Can I apply to the summer mentoring program if I am published or agented? I'm afraid not. We are looking for people who haven't had those opportunities to work with a professional. If you're agented or published, you have had those opportunities, and therefore we say, well, let's let someone else have that opportunity to do that. Okay, so unpublished and unagented writers only. We do say that self-published authors should apply, but not with the actual self-published manuscript, because that's now obviously counts as published once it's out there. You're still eligible if you contribute to an anthology or you have authored non-fiction or educational or cookbooks or anything similar. Okay, but as long as you're unagented. People sometimes ask us, I've published several adult books, but I haven't published a child's book. Can I apply with that? And we do say, unfortunately, not in that circumstance, because again, you've had the opportunity to work with a publishing professional, probably an agent or a publisher, an editor, and therefore we want to give those opportunities to people who have not had that opportunity, ideally. Which mentors can I apply to? A full list of the mentors is on the page. We've tried to keep it all um, quite easy to navigate. So if you go into the Right Mentor Summer Program 2022 page, there's a hyperlink to the mentors, and you can check them all out there. There's full bio, uh, what they're looking for, what they're looking for in terms of mentoring style and so on as well. And some people have linked to external blogs that they've made on their own website as well. So you can check all of those out and use those to help you determine which mentor you're going to apply to. Can I apply to a mentor if I know them? Now, that's one thing we are quite strict on, is if you know the mentor, whether you're in a critique group with them or you've worked with them in the past in an editorial capacity, or they're friends with you, and the definition of friends is a difficult one, but if it's someone that you speak to um, on a regular basis, then we would count that as a writing friend, and you shouldn't apply to them. We want to avoid all degree of nepotism within the program. We want to be people to be judged on the basis of their applications, rather than who they know, which we know is a problem in all walks of life, isn't it? So we want to avoid that, and to give help to those people who we think would benefit most from it, rather than a mentor just taking on one of their pals as part of the program. Okay, so just to read out what it says on the FAQs, we have clear rules that the mentor should not be in a critique group or edited for, or know the applicant and their work well, as this would be a continuation of a previous writing relationship. We want to form new ones. If you do apply to a mentor with whom you've worked before or know well, for example, if you follow them on Twitter, that's fine. Then we'd expect the mentor to not consider your application. So actually, you're wasting uh, an application there if you send it to someone who they consider would be a close writing friend, or someone who they've worked with in a professional capacity. Obviously, this is all done on a trust basis. We're not going to be researching the duration of writing friendships between various people, but we know and we're confident that no one within the community would take advantage of this, whether that's on the mentor side or the people that are applying. So just keep that in mind when you're considering your applications. Don't send it to someone that you already know reasonably well. How many mentors can I apply to? Well, it's three. This is fixed, and it also spreads the applications. It means that if you have five or seven mentors you can apply to, it means there are going to be some people who get hundreds and hundreds of applications, and that's not manageable for them to get through all of those. So it spreads the applications and ensures that no one single mentor is overwhelmed with the number of applications that they get. I'm a former mentee. Can I apply again? That's a good question. You can, and we have had mentees that have been mentored more than once, but we always say you can't apply to the same mentor that you've worked with previously, and you can apply with the same manuscript or texts that you've previously been chosen for. Okay, so it needs to be something brand new. We are not closed to the idea of people sometimes needing a little bit of additional help. Ideally, we would want all of the people we choose to be new people, but some, it just depends. There are a lot of factors and reasons why people might apply a second time, and ultimately we don't dictate to the mentors if they can or can't take on those particular people. What do I need when I apply if I'm a novelist? Okay, so the query letter, no need for salutations, just dear mentor will suffice. Completed manuscript, which is double spaced with a 12 size font, something plain, and a synopsis, which is single spaced. and all of that should be in one document. Um, the one question that you'll be asked in the application, just so you're prepared for it, is why have you applied to Right Mentor? Now, there's no word limit to the answer, but be sensible. Um, if the answer exceeds the length of your manuscript or your text, then it's probably too long. No, don't be too concise with this, because this will actually help the mentors determine who they're going to take on. So don't be too concise with this. But similarly, don't write as a complete essay on why you've applied to it. I guess it's kind of, there's no exact answer in terms of how long it should be. Just go with, tell us tell us what you want to tell us, and don't tell us stuff that we don't need to know. And similarly, don't be too brief. We've had people uh, apply, and the answer to this question has been yes, for example, because they've misread it and said, "Are you applying to Right Mentor or something?" So that question is important. Please give it your best shot, but not too long or too short. If I am to apply for picture books, should I send more than one text? We've said that already. You should send the three texts as you're working all three with your mentor during the summer period. The picture book applications do not require a full synopsis, but a short summary or pitch for each one would be useful, just to help our mentors when they're considering your application. And also, pitches are dynamite in terms of seeing, does this have commercial ability? Is someone going to read that pitch and think, yep, I must read that? And so, working on that and developing that and having something that really captures what your book is all about is important. Where will the form be? It's going to be on the mentoring page at the very bottom. And you can scroll down. And the reason we put it at the bottom is to make sure that everyone who applies actually reads the instructions and the frequently asked questions. Although, despite that, I still think some people don't. We'll also post on Twitter when the application's open. So if you just follow us on Twitter and never come to our website, you'll still be able to see when that happens. But we've already told you the date, so you know when to look on the website. Does my manuscript have to be complete? Yes. We've covered this already. We need it to be complete. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be ready for awards or anything else, but it does need to be finished. What if I don't get on with my mentor? Now that is a important and serious question. This is very rare. We it's almost never happened, but it has happened. You can always email me. You can get in touch with the mentee care reps that we have, and if you're accepted onto the program, we'll introduce you to them to discuss any issues. They've always been very good with our mentees, and as experienced people, they can usually help out in most situations. We understand that sometimes personalities or writing styles or expectations can clash, and that obviously can be an issue. But we hope that most things can be resolved just by having a discussion. And if we need to mediate to resolve any issues, then we'll do that. Do I have to take part in Agent Showcase at the end? Absolutely not. It's totally your choice. It's something we just add on. It's not the focus of the program. And again, I'll reiterate this. If you feel like you are feeling anxious about the showcase or you don't want to do it, still apply, because the most important thing about the program is the actual mentoring, not the outcome, not the showcase. Okay. So there's no pressure to take part in that if you are accepted as a mentee. We are focused very much on the long-term development of you as a writer, and that's the priority for us. What happens if I have queried agents and have queries out? Again, a good question. This happens often. If you get offered representation during the application process, then we would ask you just to send us an email, and we'll forward that on to your mentor applications, and we'll let them know that you should be withdrawn from consideration at that point. If it happens during the program after you've already accepted a place, then brilliant, good luck, because that's what we want for you ultimately. And there's no sort of pressure to continue. I mean, you could still work with your mentor, even if you signed with an agent. That's still something that you could do, and that will obviously still elevate your craft, and they can help you with like industry bits of knowledge and so on. So it's not it's not a huge deal if that happens later on and you have queries out. I mean, ultimately, what we want to do is help you progress, and if that happens, even without too much of our input, we're delighted for you. What? Sorry, next one. I have already been rejected by most of the agents in the showcase. Should I still apply? My answer is yes to that. It's about more than just signing with an agent and improving one manuscript. That our program is bigger than that. That's what we hope for the people that take part. And so developing a close relationship with someone who you can trust, like your mentor will hopefully be, it's going to be so valuable for you going forward. It's someone who you can turn to, and sometimes we still have mentee mentor relationships that have continued quite strongly since 2018 when we did our first program. So it's about more than just getting an agent and more than just this manuscript. It's about being part of a wider community of like-minded people and writers, and I guess we hope that at the end of it you'll benefit in more ways than just those outcome-based goals that we all want. But there is more to it than just signing with an agent or a publisher or whatever else it is you're hoping for with your writing. Can I enter other contests or awards? Now, this is something where I sometimes see um, programs that say you can't. For us, we're all for it. Like, enter them. One thing I would say is if you accept a place in the program, we do ask that you give it everything, you focus on that, and you don't look at it as a sort of a pathway to something else. We hope that you'll focus with your mentor on everything you have to do over the summer. And you'll give that your all, as I talked about at the start. But do enter novel awards, picture book awards, anything else that's going, because ultimately you've got to take advantage of all the opportunities that are out there for you, and we fully endorse that. When we find out if you're successful, we will announce the pairings on the website, which we'll post a link for via our Twitter account at 5 p.m. BST on the 28th of April. We will also send an email out just to let everyone know about that, just in case you're not on Twitter or you missed that it's on the website on that particular date. We'll send a wee application out to those who have not been selected, just to let them know, so that they're not left wondering. And then that saves you then having to scroll through a list of pairings to find out your name's not there. And we all know how disheartening that can be. So we'll try and get that email out to you on that day, on the 28th of April, to let you know if you're not part of the program. And then that way, when the announcement comes out, there's less disappointment in that immediate moment. You'll have had the email before to advise you of that in advance. So that's what we're going to do to let people find out. What should I do after I apply while I'm waiting? I would suggest taking this approach. Once you've applied, assume you've been unsuccessful. Move on. Behave as though you need to now look at the next step beyond the application for a program. So whatever that is for you, whether that's working on the current MS, try to do a bit more work on it, or text, working on a new text, working on a new story, working something that's not writing related, do something else. Focus on something brand new. Whatever you have to do to switch off, please take that approach. Send and forget, and ultimately, if you get accepted, that's fab news. But don't have any raised hopes or expectations about being accepted in the program. And if you have that mindset, then the announcement day will be much healthier for you. So that's what we suggest after you apply. Will mentors be in touch to request more material? We discussed this earlier on. Because we're asking for the full manuscript or the 3 texts to be sent in with the application, there's going to be a lot less email interaction between the mentors and the applicants. The only way that they might get in touch, as I say, is if they're not sure about a few people that they might have in their shortlist and they want to ask you a little bit more about various things to help them make their decision. But again, don't be sitting waiting for that email to come in, refreshing several times a day, as we all have a tendency to do. Just please switch off and check your email with the normal frequency that you would unless that's once every 6 months, in which case maybe check it once every few days just during that period. But don't go in with any great hope or expectation that an email will come, because for a lot of mentors they won't get in touch with anyone. What if I'm unsuccessful? Unfortunately, application numbers always exceed the numbers of mentors that we have, so we can't help everyone. But we are going to run our WM pitch event after the announcements to help with the disappointment or hangover of not being accepted. Um, as I say, hopefully, if you take my advice above, you won't be too disappointed. But it's good to have something else to look forward to and to refocus on as soon as the pairings come out. So we organise that for the day after the announcement, and you can take part in that Twitter pitch event called WM Pitch, and details of that are on the mentoring page. Okay, and hopefully that covers the majority of questions that people tend to have. Um, I really love this program. We have had a lot of people come through the program now, and the majority of them have felt it's made a significant impact. A, to their writing, B, to their industry knowledge, C, they've made a close friend and their mentor, and D, and probably most importantly, they have made good friendships with their fellow mentees, with other writers who are at the same stage of their career and development, and that is invaluable. It's the one thing about writing that money can't buy as good writing pals. They'll help you when things are tough. They'll help you and cheerlead for you when things are going well. They'll be there to talk through problems with. If you do eventually get offered contracts from agents and publishers and so on, they'll be there to bounce it off, and some of them will have experience that they'll be able to help you with and so on. It is invaluable, because we all know that people who don't write, they don't quite understand the processes. They don't understand the emotional toil that being a writer can take upon you, and having those close writing friends to offload when you need to, and also provide support for you, and for you to provide support for them and so on, is so invaluable. And I think that's the one thing that always sticks with every year that we do this, is how close a lot of the mentees are with each other after, and sometimes years later. They're still in touch after the program. So that is for me anyway, the ultimate highlight of the program. So I hope that has been helpful to you all, and the run through will give you some help and some guidance when it comes to applying. In just under 2 weeks now, it's getting close. And obviously, remember, we've got the Twitter chat and the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before the applications open. Those will be in the evening, BST. We'll post up exact timings for each category, etc., via our Twitter account. So look out for those. And when you do apply, I do wish you the best of luck. We can't take on everyone, and so for those who get on, that's brilliant. You'll have a great time. You'll benefit a lot. For those that don't, I would say just try and take it for what it is, and it's just one opportunity that you're not getting to take part in. But there are so many others out there, and please throw your hat in the ring for everything that comes your way, because you just never know which ones are going to fall your way. It's so subjective what people like, what they decide to take on in all of these um, opportunities. So just keep writing your stories, keep trying to get better, keep improving as much as you can, and keep applying to things and taking all the opportunities that are out there. Okay, so best of luck, everyone. I'll see you probably all over on Twitter at some point, and may the force be with you.